Good morning everybody, it's Wednesday the 10th of July 2019 and I'm inside my Tesla Model S90D. I've covered about 112,000 miles in this car in about 3¼ years, and I thought it might be interesting just to have a look at things like the range and the electrical consumption and the like. Now whenever I'm parked up either at a charger, supercharger or just in a normal car park, people often come up and ask me questions about the car, which is rather nice. The first question is always, how far will it go on a charge? What's the range? And the second is generally, how long does it take to charge up? So let's have a look at range, shall we? Now, I've done 112,000 miles. Whenever I charge the car, I never ever charge it more than 90%, and I never ever let it go less than 15 to 20% at the other end. As regards charging, however, around about 65 to 70% of the time this car has been charged on rapid or superchargers. So I've treated it well at one end of the scale and abused it at the other. Even when I'm at a supercharger, I generally don't charge to more than 80% because the charging rate falls off to 40 kilowatts and it's not really worth the extra while just hanging around. So here we go, 112,000 miles, 90% range, 233 miles, although this did go up to 234 yesterday when it was particularly warm. 64,000 miles, 237, when it was new around 244 to 245. So that means I've lost in 112,000 miles 11 miles, so it's very roughly, almost exactly actually, 1 mile for every 10,000 miles travelled. So there we go. What's been my average electrical consumption? At the time of writing, it is now 278 watt-hours per mile. At the height of winter, it goes up on average to about 280-281 watt-hours per mile, and at the end of the summer, say in September-October time, it'll drop to 276 watt-hours per mile. Now that's obviously averaged out over 112,000 miles, so even another 60,000 miles, those averages aren't likely to continue. As you can tell from that, I'm not a particularly fast driver. My main aim in life is to get there safely, in comfort, rather than accelerate hard and overtake everybody. I think I've got that out of my system by now. What problems have I had in that time? Well, as a lot of you will know, follow this channel, it's been the old driver's side door handle that's been the problem. Tesla have had a go at it twice, I've had a go at it twice. I'm a dab hand getting the door card off, getting my fingers up amongst the sharp metal and everything else, but to be quite frank with you, it's something I could do without, and I fully acknowledge it's just one of those design features. I did happen to notice on the new Jaguar I-Pace that has the same pop-out door handles that Tesla have, but actually when you open the door handle moves forward and it opens in a perfectly conventional manner, so that it seems that Jaguar have taken the best from Tesla and abandoned the worst. Now a lot of my friends often say to me, well David, you're going to get a Model 3. And indeed, we visited Tesla at Knutsford and had a sit in the Model 3. We haven't driven it yet. And I have to say it looks an excellent car. And of course, it's one great asset is it's a lot smaller than the Model S. Those of you who follow this channel will also realise that my only caveat with the Model S is it is a big piece of metal to manoeuvre around small English roads. I'm sure California is a bit different, America as a whole perhaps, but in the lanes of West Yorkshire and West Norfolk at weekends when everybody's parked on both sides of the roads, it gets to be a bit of a headache. So that's the only disadvantage of the car. Would I therefore get a Model 3? Well, apart from the size, the answer is there's no advantage to me. This car is bought, paid for, stands me no money whatsoever, has free supercharging. I'll just run it into the ground. I'm coming up to 70 next birthday. I run it up to, say, so when I'm 75, I'll probably have done about 200 and 250,000 miles. And I will get myself a much smaller car after that, one that's a lot more manoeuvrable. Assume I'm not doing the same sort of mileage that I am now. Now Tesla don't do a small car, I don't know whether they will then, so I'll probably have to buy somebody else's car for a sort of city car with a couple of 100 miles range. But one thing I can tell you is, absolutely, it will be a 100% electric vehicle. There is no way I'm ever going back to gas cars, diesel cars or whatever. Now that finishes part one of this video, whereby we've just gone over fuel consumption and things like this, but there is a second part which concerns something more serious than the door handle, which is the front screen. So if you just want a few statistics, tune out now, but if you want to hear about the front screen, stick around. There we are everybody, thanks for watching again. Now this goes back to about March of this year. Got in the car. I was due to go out to Cheshire, see a customer and a friend out there. Got in the car. Front screen, big screen, absolutely blank. The instrument panel, a few bits of information, but absolutely nothing. And of course the dreaded pop-up at the bottom of the instrument screen saying systems are powering up, press brake when this disappears. Now you can probably guess what happened. It didn't disappear. So I went for a soft reset, went for a hard reset, used harsh language, nothing worked. I gave Tesla a call, explained the situation. They said that they would talk to the car over the internet. They called me back after half an hour to say, sorry, it's obviously something catastrophic, can't do it, bring it into us. Now Tesla is only about 18 miles from where I live, Tesla in Leeds. Now I fully realise, of course, at this sort of mileage, even in 3 years, the car's well out of guarantee. So I said to them, look, can you recommend a towing company? And they said, sorry, can't do that. Well, I then remembered I had RAC cover, especially that Get Your Home service from anywhere in the UK. That's about the only thing I have with the RAC. No matter what happens, anywhere, they'll get you home. Phone them up, explain the situation. The lady's very, very encouraging, and she said, oh, by the way, where are you? I said, I'm at home. She said, oh, I'm sorry, the one place that Get You Home doesn't work is at home, which I suppose is quite logical. She said, you'll need Home Start. Okay. How much was Home Start? £40, she said. Well, that's not bad, I thought. And then I said, well, how far will Home Start take me? And she said, 10 miles. Well, okay. So I explained that Tesla was 8 miles away, explained that the car was specialised, it just couldn't go to your local dealer or anything else like that. And so I asked her, how much would it be to go the extra 8 miles? Right, so she goes away, comes back, it will be £100 plus VAT. So I thought, this is getting a bit silly. So I went on the internet, and I was after a company that had a flatbed that tilted so we could pull it on, and I found a company in Bradford called BWR, and they turned out to be extremely good. They promised to come on the Wednesday at 10:30, which they Thursday 10:30, which they actually did. In the meantime then, I had a day without a Tesla, but as you will probably realise, once you have no power in your Tesla, the parking brakes are locked on and you can't do anything with it. And I recall a video when James Cook's car, an early 85, went wrong in McDonald's car park, and they had to come around with skates, and it was just a complete nightmare. Now, I'm in the driveway, about 90 degrees on from where the road is, so it's not particularly difficult to extricate the car, and the driveway is pretty big. So I then remembered that James Coates of James and Kate made a video about how to actually undo the parking brake on your Model S. So I nipped inside, got it on the computer, and there he was, undoing the parking brake and everything. Now James is the top quality engineer, so I thought, right, let's give this a go. So I got my trusty 2.5 ton jack out, jacked the car up, took the wheel off, found the 3 torque screws. Now they're not difficult to undo, but they're a bit fiddly, and you have to put your finger on and estimate where it is. Anyway, once you've done one, the second one's quite easy. So I got the brake servo off. It's just a sort of mechanism. Put that in a polythene bag, and I used a 14mm spanner just to release the brake. Put the wheel on, repeated the procedure over the other side, and hey presto, we had a car that moved. Your towing man from BWR arrives on the Thursday. With a bit of pulling and pushing, we got it on the car, but I can tell you, trying to steer a Tesla when it's not switched on is very, very difficult. There's just no go in the steering whatsoever. Without power steering, it's virtually impossible. So we had a bit of pull me, push you a couple of times. That was fine. Got it on the truck. Got it off to Tesla. Came off the truck at 11:30. I rolled it just by gravity into a parking space. Super convenient. Went to see the lads. Yeah, they said we'll look at it tomorrow, Friday. Mary and I were off to Norfolk, so we decided to give a little BMW a run, as it hadn't, it just gets used locally, so we did that. Tesla called on the Saturday. Yeah, it's the screen, we've got one, we'll stick it in. So I said, no rush, just make sure it's ready for the Thursday when we come home. And by the way, can you put a 4G LTE SIM card in, because obviously I had the old 3G and it was getting a bit slow. Came back on the Thursday, absolutely fine. Of course I had to pay for it, it's not under guarantee, and I can tell you that wasn't particularly cheap. Drove home and all was fine. The 4G is a fair bit quicker than the 3G, which is really nice. Interestingly, driving Mary's little 1 Series BMW about, which is a real quality motor car, it's a 1.5 litre turbocharged automatic. Obviously, considerably noisier than the Tesla. But not just that, it's when you're driving an automatic, when you approach a junction, there's a bit of wind up with the gearbox where it can't decide, does it want second, does it want third, and everything else like that. So it just shows you how quiet an electric car is. That, of course, we knew, but the lack of gearbox means you don't get any of that wind up. Anything else, it's just smooth, it's progressive, it's lovely. But the other thing you miss, by God, is the regen braking, because with an automatic car you don't have engine braking. In fact, almost you have the reverse, because the engine's always running, and that it A, catches you out, and B, you think, what a terrible waste of energy going down this hill with the car still running and not putting any energy back. So there we are. So that was basically it. Cost me a fair amount of money, but these things happen. As an example, my previous BMW, before I got the Tesla, had a windscreen wiper motor go 200 miles from home. It was a bit inconvenient. Took it in, not to a BMW main dealer incidentally, but to a local agency which I've been using for the last 5-10 years on BMWs, and that was £400 plus VAT for a wiper motor. So that puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Anyway, if you have been, thank you for watching.